broader public from the perspective of regulators, industry players, and academicians. Before we start, I would like to briefly share today's agenda. We will start the program with a 15-minute keynote speech from Bank Indonesia Deputy Governor Pak Sugeng. Following that, we will have 3 speakers. Each will deliver a 15-minute presentation. This session will last around 45 minutes and will be moderated by my fellow journalist, Riska Rahman. So before we begin, let me introduce to you the distinguished guests serving as panelists on today's program. We have Ibu Chrisma Albandjar, Indonesia Fintech Association or Aftech board member and head of G20 working group. Hi, Bu Chrisma.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you.
Hi. And Bapak Chaikal Nuryakin from University of Indonesia Social and Economic Research Institute, head of research group for digital economy and behavioral economics. Hi, Pak Chaikal.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Chaikal. And Bapak Mohan Jayaraman, Experian Asia Pacific Managing Director for Southeast Asia and Regional Innovation. Hello, Bapak Mohan.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, everyone.
So after all speakers deliver the presentation material, we will have a Q&A session that will last around 40 minutes. If you have any question, feel free to ask anytime using the Q&A feature or the chat room on your Zoom app. And please do not hesitate to ask in Bahasa Indonesia as we will translate it for you. A quick note before we begin, good journalism needs your support. If you want to see more quality journalism, please consider subscribing to the Jakarta Post by going to our website www.jakartapost.com/packages. With only 50,000 rupiah, you will get an access to our premium content and more. Without further ado, I would like to give the screen to Riska. Riska, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Jessica. Good afternoon to all the speakers here today. I hope you're doing well in this trying time. Welcome to the Jakarta Post Up Close webinar. I'm Riska Rahman, the Jakarta Post business journalist and your moderator for today. Judging by the way we conduct our webinar today, I think it's safe to say that digital technology has taken over our lives at an unprecedented rate during the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only does it change the way we interact, it also changes the way we transact. Many of us has now resorted to digital payment as we are doing almost everything virtually through the use of mobile apps and digital platforms to fulfill our daily needs that ranges from grocery shopping to investments. The government has also made use of these technological advancements by partnering with various fintech platforms to distribute aid, including the pre-employment card program or Kartu Prakerja, while more partnerships are expected to follow in the future. Digital payments are also driving growth in the digital economy in Southeast Asia, in which the value is expected to reach $1.1 trillion by 2025 from $22 billion in 2019, according to the Economy SEA report produced by Google, Temasek, and Bain & Company last year. Although fintech has been gaining popularity in the past few years, thanks to its ability to provide financial services to millions of underbanked people in Indonesia, growth is still largely concentrated in Java. A recent survey conducted by the Indonesia Fintech Association, or Aftech, revealed that only 23% of fintech companies have reached beyond the island of Java, while 41% have operations in Greater Jakarta. Meanwhile, Indonesians' financial literacy remains low, especially in non-urban areas. A 2019 survey by the Financial Services Authority, or OJK, showed that Indonesia only scored 38.03% on the Financial Literacy Index and 76.19% on the Financial Inclusion Index. This poses a big challenge for fintech industry players to expand their services, as fintech plays a great role in helping Indonesia to achieve its goal of scoring 90% on the Financial Inclusion Index by 2024. Our discussion today aims to deliberate on several topics, including fintech success story in boosting financial inclusion in Indonesia, challenges in expanding fintech services across Indonesia, especially beyond Java, women as the force behind fintech development, fintech products and services diversification to reach out broader consumers, and finally, financial literacy as a crucial factor in boosting fintech growth in financial inclusion. Without further ado, let's start this webinar with a keynote speech from Bank Indonesia Deputy Governor, Sugeng. Pak Sugeng will be delivering his speech in Bahasa Indonesia. How are you, Pak Sugeng?
Siap.
Okay. Pak, you will have 15 minutes for the speech.
Okay.
The platform is yours.
Oke. Terima kasih, Pak Riska. Ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore bagi kita semua. Yang saya hormati CEO dari Jakarta Post. Kalau ada di sini Bapak Judistira Wanandi. Tentu juga yang saya hormati pimpinan redaksi The Jakarta Post, para narasumber tadi, dan seluruh peserta seminar. Puji syukur, alhamdulillah kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala ya. Kita diberikan kesehatan sehingga kita bisa melakukan seminar ini, walaupun melalui Vicon ini, tetapi memang tidak mengurangi arti, tidak mengurangi hikmat, dan dengan Vicon ini kita bisa terjaga, mudah-mudahan kesehatan kita untuk semuanya ya. Saya kira topiknya ini sangat penting sekali, fintech for financial inclusion throughout Indonesia ya. Kita ke depan memang ingin Indonesia ingin menjadi negara maju, ya, negara maju, tentunya yang berpendapatan tinggi dan digital, jadi berpendapatan tinggi dan digital. Nah, ini menjadi satu cita-cita kita di mana tahun 2045 ya kita harapkan sudah masuk ke area high income country ya. Nah, tentunya ini sangat penting. Di dalam rangka mendukung ini tentunya pertumbuhan ekonomi yang tinggi dan sustain adalah penting. Tapi itu tidak cukup ya, tidak cukup. Ada faktor yang sangat penting. Pertumbuhan tadi harus inklusif. Ya. Jadi the quality of growth is vital. Jadi sangat penting faktor inclusiveness tadi ya, sangat penting untuk bisa mencapai ke sana. Jadi kita jadi negara maju tetapi inklusif sehingga kita harapkan tantangan yang kita hadapi saat ini seperti adanya gap yang masih tinggi, ya, tercermin mungkin masih tingginya Gini ratio yang masih mencapai 3,9% something ya, masih relatif tinggi. Tapi memang meskipun telah mengalami satu penurunan ya, penurunan pernah mencapai lebih dari 4 ya. Nah, itulah suatu challenge kita ya ke depan, bagaimana kita masih memandang penting sekali itu bagaimana kita mengembangkan faktor inclusiveness daripada ekonomi kita ya. Saya kira inclusiveness ini tidak hanya di financial saja ya, tidak cukup di situ. Tidak cukup, untuk bisa kelangsungan ke depan itu perlu kita mengembangkan juga inclusiveness di sektorialnya sendiri, di ekonominya sendiri. Jadi dua-duanya kita tumbuhkan. Dua-duanya kita tumbuhkan ya. Kita memerlukan mendorong pertumbuhan di sektorialnya sendiri ya, inclusiveness di sektorialnya sendiri kita kembangkan, di mana tadi ini bisa menjadi suatu demand. Kalau kuat tentunya juga dia akses ke banknya juga, akses ke keuangannya juga akan jadi lebih terbuka ya, jadi terbuka ya. Jadi dua-duanya itu diperlukan, tidak hanya di keuangan di keuangan inclusiveness-nya, tetapi terhadap ekonomi itunya, ekonomi kegiatan ekonomi realnya sendiri juga perlu didorong. Itulah kita yakini nanti dengan cara tersebut pertumbuhan ekonomi yang kuat dan sustain dan inklusif ke depan bisa kita capai ya. Bapak Ibu sekalian yang saya hormati ya, Saya kira kita masih mempunyai ruang yang terbesar besar ya untuk bisa mengembangkan inklusivitas kita ya. Tadi tantangan yang secara kalau dari sisi Gini ratio-nya sendiri masih cukup tinggi. Nah, ini perlu kita turunkan ya. Demikian juga kalau kita lihat lebih granular sedikit ya. Kita tadi sudah disebut oleh Mbak Siska juga ya. Kita misalnya dari dari World Bank, dari Global Fintech-nya sendiri masih mencapai angka berapa? 2017 itu 49% ya, 49%. Kemudian kalau dilihat dari strategi nasional keuangan inklusif yang tentunya ini hasil koordinasi dari kantor Menko, tercatat tahun 2018 itu mencatat angka 55 ya, yang juga tentunya ini kalau dibanding tahun-tahun sebelumnya memang mengalami suatu peningkatan ya. Jadi aspek penggunaan inklusif ekonomi perlu diperhitungkan di dalam tadi mendorong usaha-usaha inklusivitas di sisi keuangan. Jadi ini sangat penting sekali. Nanti akan kami bicara juga terkait bagaimana untuk bisa ke arah tersebut ya. Jadi itu dari sisi kita lihat lebih granular lagi, ini kita lihat kalau masih adanya ketimpangan juga kita lihat di data dari data transaksi e-commerce itu. Data e-commerce itu hampir 90% masih ada di mana? Di Jawa ya. Di Jawa itu mayoritas di Jawa ya. E-commerce itu. Ini memang ya terkait dengan di situ pusat keuangannya sendiri, tetapi juga di situ juga ada fasilitinya yang lebih lengkap. Kaum milenialnya juga lebih banyak ya toh. Ya, kita lihat juga ya di daerah yang lain kita lihat masih cukup kecil, relatif kecil. Nah, ini juga terkait juga mungkin ke depan itu tantangan ke depan itu ada juga di infrastruktur ya. Infrastruktur kita memang harus kita perkuat ya toh. Kalau kita lihat pengalaman kami membantu program bansos itu ada beberapa titik-titik yang nggak punya signal, itu juga suatu tantangan ya. Kami sudah juga koordinasi dengan Kementerian Komunikasi ya, bagaimana dengan ring 3-nya bisa membantu akses daripada jaringan-jaringan ini harus diperkuat ya. Diperkuat. Kita lihat juga misalnya di transaksi RTGS SKNBI juga ya. Flow transaksi pembayarannya itu masih terpusat di Jawa, di Jakarta, Jatim, Jabar, Jateng ya toh. Ini masih di Jawa, sementara dan Sumatera sudah ya sebagian, dan Sumatera itu, tapi daerah-daerah yang lain masih belum ya. Kemudian juga ya kalau lihat misalnya jaringan ATM-nya sendiri ya, ATM-nya sendiri juga kita lihat tidak merata ya, tidak merata, banyak masih di Jawa. Dan ini kalau dibanding dengan negara-negara lain, coba kita lihat di situ ya, Indonesia masih dari beberapa segi, dari akses penggunaan ya memang Samkis lebih tinggi, tapi overall masih perlu kita tingkatkan ya, masih kalah. Kalau Brasil, Malaysia itu memang ya dari sisi itu cukup advance ya. Menghadapi kondisi yang demikian ini, kami di Bank Indonesia sangat menaruh perhatian bagaimana bisa mendorong inklusiveness ekonomi dan keuangan di Indonesia. Kami sudah membuat framework ya. Frameworknya itu ada 3 pilar yang kami buat di sini. 3 pilar. Yang pertama pemberdayaan ekonomi tadi sangat penting, yang saya sebut sebelumnya, pemberdayaan ekonomi. Yang kedua perluasan akses dan literasi keuangan, itu juga menjadi pilar penting, dan tentunya ini tidak bisa kita kerjakan sendiri-sendiri, harus terintegrasi, harus ada harmonisasi antar lembaga. Saya ingin memulai dengan di pilar pertama ya. Pilar pertama yaitu pentingnya yaitu pemberdayaan ekonomi ya, pemberdayaan ekonomi. Ini dititikberatkan pada bagaimana bisa mengembangkan aktivitas sektor real ya, agar inklusi ekonomi dan keuangan ikut bisa terdorong ya. Termasuk di sini adalah sebenarnya bagaimana bisa yang saat ini menjadi topik tumpuan kita sekarang, kita mempunyai UMKM ya, UMKM yang cukup besar, around 62 juta ya, 62 juta UMKM. Ini yang sekarang menjadi perhatian daripada pemerintah, karena kita tahu UMKM ini ya dari historinya memang kalau menghadapi suatu badai, tekanan itu lebih daya tahannya ada di situ ya. Oleh karena itu ini juga kita bisa dorong untuk menciptakan nanti demand ya toh, yang tentunya akan bisa menggerakkan ekonomi yang lebih bagus lagi. Kami juga di Bank Indonesia mempunyai klaster, mempunyai binaan ya, UMKM, ada lebih dari 800 ya, dan itu kami dorong ya, dan dengan berbagai fasilitas yang ada, termasuk tentunya di sini aja coachingnya, kemudian juga bagaimana memasarkannya ya. UMKM tadi sudah go digital ya, go digital, dan bisa ada sebagian sudah go ekspor ya. Jadi ini sangat penting, apalagi menghadapi kondisi COVID ini ya. COVID ini ya, ini sekarang menjadi perhatian penuh kami dan pemerintah ini sama-sama ini. Jadi sekarang sudah menjadi fokus untuk pengembangan UMKM di masa COVID ini. Kemudian pilar yang lain adalah perluasan akses dan literasi ya, literasi keuangan ini. Ini merupakan juga pilar yang sangat penting sekali, di mana pentingnya peningkatan pemahaman dan penggunaan layanan keuangan. Jadi tidak masih majority dari masyarakat mungkin di kelas bawah belum tahu bagaimana bisa menggunakan layanan keuangan ini, bagaimana bisa berhubungan dengan bank ya toh. Tentunya nanti bagaimana tadi bisa berhubungan dengan bank secara tidak langsung sehingga ada suatu akses ke keuangannya. Kami di sini juga terus mengembangkan sebenarnya pengembangan agen-agen LKD atau layanan keuangan digital bersama dengan yang sebenarnya dari OJK ada Laku Pandai, bagaimana bisa mengintegrasikan tadi ya, mengintegrasikan kedua agen tadi. Ini sudah cukup signifikan di dalam mendorong bagaimana tadi melayani bantuan program-program bantuan sosial di pemerintah ya. Dengan agen-agen inilah yang bisa mengantarkan masyarakat dari yang belum mengenal akses keuangan jadi tahu ya aksesnya, walaupun mungkin secara tidak langsung ke perbankan. Ini kalau kita kembangkan terus tadi seperti saya kemukakan sebelumnya, kalau sektor realnya semakin kuat, ini juga mereka menjadi familiar terkait dengan akses keuangan. Yang lain adalah penting ini tadi semuanya itu harus kita lakukan secara bersamaan, dan sekarang alhamdulillah ini sudah menjadi program nasional ya, program nasional di bawah DNKI ya, sama forum atau lembaga-lembaga yang terkait untuk pengembangan inklusivitas ini. Bapak Ibu sekalian ya, ke depan ini memang area digitalisasi ya. Jadi ini bagaimana bisa memanfaatkan digitalisasi ini dengan baik untuk keperluan tadi yang kita ingin membawa negara kita menjadi negara yang maju tapi yang digital ya, digital. apalagi ini ke depan kayaknya sudah di kondisi yang COVID ini, di COVID yang ini bagaimana bisa mengembangkan sektor realnya ini bisa berkembang dengan baik ya, sehingga ini nanti pada akhirnya juga menjadi satu kekuatan untuk bisa berhubungan dengan perbankan. Nanti kami ingin bagaimana role daripada fintech di sini ya. Jadi inilah dengan adanya framework inklusi ekonomi dan keuangan yang telah saya sebutkan tadi ya, mudah-mudahan nanti bisa mengakselerasi daripada inklusi keuangan, ekonomi dan keuangan dengan makin baik. Ini juga kami dukung di Bank Indonesia dengan adanya pengembangan dan kami sudah mengeluarkan blueprint sistem pembayaran 2025 ya, di mana di sini ada integrasi, bagaimana mengintegrasikan ekonomi keuangan digital secara nasional ini. Jadi kami mau dua-duanya nih, keuangannya kita kembangkan, ekonominya juga kita kembangkan, sehingga kita match, kita linkkan keduanya melalui digital tadi. Ada program yang terkait dengan sini pentingnya tadi sejalan dengan yang visi 1, yaitu kemudian sisi lain harus digitalisasi perbankan. Ini juga sangat penting dan nanti akan kami bicarakan dengan interlink antara fintech dan perbankan. Nah, terkait dengan ini kami telah meluncurkan 5 visi yang ini sudah, saya kira sudah kita luncurkan, mungkin rekan-rekan sudah familiar. Kelima visi SPI tadi ini diwujudkan di dalam 5 inisiatif utama. Ada 5 inisiatif utama yang sangat erat kaitannya dengan pengembangan ekonomi dan keuangan inklusif ya. Ini yang pertama ini terkait tadi yang interlink antara bank dan fintech ya. Jadi terkait dengan visi nomor 2 ya, visi nomor 2. Jadi ini penting sekali itu bagaimana bisa melink antara bank dan fintech ya. Dalam kaitan ini kami di Bank Indonesia tetap mendorong bank tetap sebagai the leading institutionnya, menjadi lembaga utamanya untuk mengelit ini karena memang ya pertama dari sisi besarannya, kemudian juga dari sisi risiko ya, risiko. Jadi bank juga sudah kami pandang juga sudah lebih familiar dengan aspek-aspek mengenai risiko, aspek mengenai governance ya, sehingga bank tetap kami pandang untuk bisa melangkah di depan atau berada di depan. Namun demikian kita harus akui bank tidak bisa menjangkau keseluruhan wilayah ya toh. Ada keterbatasannya juga. Ada keterbatasannya. Nah, ini tidak mungkin dilakukan sendiri. Namun demikian kita lihat sekarang dengan pertumbuhan fintech yang cukup pesat, nah ini kita bisa manfaatkan. Bagaimana bisa mengkolaborasi antara bank dengan fintech ini ya, untuk bisa melakukan kerjasama ya. Kita lihat memang fintech ini lebih agile ya toh, dengan inovasinya ya toh, lebih tahu area sektor real mana atau customer mana yang mempunyai potensi ya, sehingga ini kalau bank bisa memanfaatkan fintech tadi ya toh, bagaimana bisa misalnya menyalurkan kreditnya melalui fintech, nah ini juga tentunya akan sangat membantu kegiatan di sisi sektor real. Yang di dalam kaitan ini sangat penting adalah juga perlunya, karena kita ingin menyambungkan ya toh, menghubungkan antara fintech dan bank, itu ada perlunya standarisasi interkoneksi. Ini harus kita bangun dan Bank Indonesia saat ini sudah mempunyai framework ke depan bagaimana bisa membangun ini. Sekarang kita masih kembangkan mendorong standarisasi di application programming interface-nya kita kembangkan di situ ya, yang bisa melink antara nanti fintech dan bank tadi ya. Jadi nanti bisa semua bank dan fintech itu saling berhubungan, saling memanfaatkan ya, saling memanfaatkan. Jadilah inilah digital bank yang ke depan ini dengan ekosistem yang saling berhubungan ini, orang nggak repot ya. Saat ini kan yang kalau lihat existing itu tidak efisien ya. Satu misalnya kalau berhubungan dengan bank harus membuka aplikasi sendiri ya, jadi tidak efisien. Nantinya ini ya sekarang memang sudah ada tapi masih secara bilateral pengembangannya. Nah, ke depan ini akan lebih mudah lagi dengan pengembangan IPT interface pembayaran terintegrasi. Jadi ini istilahnya nanti satu sentuh nanti semua kena ya. Jadi ini sangat efisien sekali ya. Sangat efisien di dalam kita melingkan antara di dalam ekosistem ini ya.
Excuse me, Pak Sugeng. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have 5 more minutes to conclude your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Ya. Jadi itulah ke depan ya. Yang hal yang lain, yang kedua tadi hubungan bank dan fintech memang sangat penting. Yang kedua, industri retail juga akan kita kembangkan. Ada DBI akan menggunakan BI-FAS, itu semacam nanti ada kompetisi dengan saling mengisi dengan GPN dan juga Kris ya. Dengan BI-FAS ini yang real time 24/7 aman dan efisien. Ini akan juga mempermudah ya, memberikan layanan dan mendorong inclusiveness untuk menjangkau masyarakat yang lebih luas lagi ya. Yang aspek yang penting ketiga lah inisiatif dengan data. Nah, sekarang Bank Indonesia sedang membangun data ini. Data bisa kita kembangkan. Data ini bisa kita ambil dari bermacam-macam source ya, yang tentunya nanti sangat penting digunakan, dan data ini itu bisa digunakan untuk publik nanti ini. Ini bisa digunakan sebagai contoh payment scoring model nanti ya. Jadi dengan data ini bisa digunakan, bank bisa menggunakan, kemudian fintech juga bisa menggunakan ya. Bapak Ibu sekalian, hal yang terakhir mungkin saya juga mengingatkan digitalisasi atau elektronifikasi ke depan juga terus dikembangkan dari Bank Indonesia dan bersama dengan pemerintah terkait dengan bantuan sosial. Saya kira sudah sangat familiar, ini sangat masyarakat juga sangat familiar dengan bansos ini, sehingga dia mengetahui jadi terkonek dengan sistem keuangan walaupun secara tidak langsung. Kemudian sektor transportasi juga non cash. Kemudian yang terakhir ini juga sekarang sangat dorong saat ini, yaitu transaksi pemerintah daerah yaitu dengan elektronifikasi. Jadi kita dengan elektronifikasi ini kita mudah-mudahan ini, dan sudah indikasinya sudah cukup bagus, penerimaan asli daerah itu cukup meningkat, cukup tajam, dan bagi konsumen juga sangat mudah. Dengan kris bisa membayar pajak ya untuk pembayaran pajak itu melalui kris ya, ini dimudahkan. Oleh karena itu nanti ini dengan adanya pengembangan ini, kita harapkan pelaku atau masyarakat lebih terdorong bagaimana bisa membuka akun di bank, karena dengan kris saja bisa mengambil data dari perbankan tadi. Ya. Jadilah itu beberapa elemen penting saya kira yang mudah-mudahan dengan pengembangan tadi, terutama di payment system tadi, yang bisa melink antara bank dan fintech, sungguh sangat-sangat bermanfaat di dalam bagaimana mendorong inclusiveness di ekonomi maupun di keuangan, sehingga kita harapkan ini akan menjadi suatu elemen penting di dalam bagaimana bisa mendorong ekonomi Terlebih-lebih lagi ini di dalam jangka pendek menghadapi COVID akan sangat penting bagaimana menggunakan non tunai, menggunakan program elektronifikasi sehingga semuanya tetap bisa berjalan dengan baik. Saya kira dengan ini mudah-mudahan ini juga bisa menjadi tadi membuka ide-ide bagaimana bisa ke depan terus bisa mengembangkan inclusiveness tidak hanya di sektor keuangan tetapi di sektor ekonomi demi kemajuan dari ekonomi Indonesia. Demikian Siska, mudah-mudahan ini bermanfaat bagi kita semua. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak Pak Sugeng atas presentasinya. Maaf Pak, Bapak tidak bisa bergabung sampai selesai ya Pak ya? Sampai
mohon
jam ini
izinnya karena akan bergabung lagi rapat.
Nah, siap Pak. Kalau begitu kita foto sebentar ya Pak ya. Okay. I would like for all participants to look at the camera for a while so we can take a photo. Is everyone ready? Semuanya sudah siap ya? Oke, kita ambil fotonya ya. Oke. 1, 2, 3. Oke. Terima kasih banyak Pak Sugeng sudah meluangkan waktu untuk datang ke sini.
Mohon pamit.
Terima kasih banyak. Selamat sampai jumpa di webinar selanjutnya ya Pak ya.
Terima kasih.
That was Pak Sugeng for delivering his keynote speech. Thank you very much, Pak Sugeng. If I may conclude from Pak Sugeng's speech, he emphasized on several things. He said that inequality persists, especially outside of Java, and there needs to be a collaboration between stakeholders. It's important. This collaboration between stakeholders are important to provide a more inclusive financial services. However, the inclusivity must extend to the real sector to empower Indonesia's whole economic system. Let's move on to our first speaker for today, Ibu Chrisma Albandjar of Aftech. She is the board member and head of GTP working group. Hi, Ibu Chrisma, how are you?
Hi, Riska. Yes, I'm fine. Good.
Okay, great. I hope you're doing well today.
Very well, and it was very good things that and very good plan that Bank Indonesia is actually have. I think will actually help boost the industry and also the use of and our financial inclusion.
Right, right. So, Bu Chrisma, I believe you will share some stories and insights from fintech players and their efforts and challenges to drive financial inclusion in Indonesia, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
so I have my slide up.
Okay, great. I will hand the platform over to you, and you will have 15 minutes to present.
Thank you, Riska. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, in this session, I would like to share a little bit what we have in the from the industry side. If we can move to the next slide, please. So for those who is not familiar with Aftech, Indonesian Fintech Association, or known as Aftech, serves an umbrella organization for all fintech verticals in Indonesia. So in 2019, Aftech is officially appointed by OJK, Financial Service Authority, as Association for Digital Financial Innovation Players in Indonesia, or in Bahasa Indonesia is Asosiasi Penyelenggara Inovasi Keuangan Digital, based on POJK number 13, 2018. And our vision, which is very much aligned with this, is to support Indonesia financial inclusion through digital finance innovation. And our mission is to support financial inclusion targets in accordance with the SNKI, National Strategy of Financial Inclusion, by increasing access, use, and quality of financial services. The target is 90% in 2024. And if we look at next, please. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So how are we how do we do that? In Aftech, we have 4 pillars. The first one is public policy advocacy and dialogue with government and regulators. So we are partners with the government and regulators in terms of how to shape the public policy. And The second pillar is community collaboration. We work with the government, the industry, and also the third pillar is digital finance literacy and also education, where we work with public and media. We basically, we need to do some literacy and also education, since a lot of Indonesians are not still, yeah, are still not in the financial sector, or is not included in the financial sector right now. And the fourth pillar is for IFKI, for knowledge intelligence. So we do survey, research, and data mining. We are making white papers for the industry, and we also do annual member survey report, which we're going to share with you some of it. Next, please. So Aftech verticals, total we have now 362 members. I would like to share this with you because a lot of people is actually looking at fintech, financial technology, as only payments and lending. Usually people are looking at it as peer-to-peer lending or digital payment, but actually it's more than that. So for example, we have market provisioning as well, enablers, insurtech, wealth management, and we also have members from financial institutions. So those who have the digital banking as well. So as you see, fintech is more than just peer-to-peer lending or digital payment. Next. So if we look at the adoption of fintech solution, we can see now there are more than 359 million numbers of electronic money used in Indonesia. This is with growth for 84.6% year on year, which is, I think this year is going to be higher since everybody is actually at home, working at home, shopping from home, you know. So I think the use of electronic money, e-wallet, is going to be even higher. The total of e-money used right now is more than 16 trillion rupiah by June 2020. And we see that accumulation of loan disbursement through more than 25 million borrower accounts is more than 113 trillion. And now the total amount of transaction by fintech, which is registered, fintech that's registered on JKEKD Regulatory Sandbox in May, is already more than 2 trillion rupiah. Funding, which is provided by licensed equity crowdfunding players, which is funded for MSMEs in 2019, is already more than 8 billion rupiah. So we can see that the adoption of digital solution, especially including financial services, is now faster and has increased enormously. And I think within the next year, we'll actually going and move faster. Next. Now we look at the geographical coverage. So beyond Java, Java is basically most of it. 70% is still in Java, but we see that we would like to move beyond Java, and we think that other places beyond Java is the most the one that will have most beneficial more beneficial, because an island that has no ability to do it physically, to buy things or to do financial transaction physically, they can actually doing it digitally. For example, we don't have to move money physically anymore to an island. If they are all using digital payments, if they are all using digital insurance, for example, and they are all paying with Chris, because there is no transaction that actually need physical transaction using real money or cash anymore. Therefore, it will be a lot of efficiency that can be done by not having cash in that area. And then we don't have to have an ATM there as well, because you don't need the cash. So actually, the adoption of digital money or digital wallet or doing e-commerce, selling through market, throwing to marketplace is actually going to be more efficient. Well, obviously the product is still need logistic, and then they still need to send it, physically. But in terms of financially, they can actually doing it through through online. So the fact that we got from our annual member survey in 2019-2020, it is shown that 23% of fintech companies operate outside Java Island, and 41% are still in Jabodetabek area. But we are very optimistic that this is going to change, to be different within the next year, because more people outside Java will actually use digital money or digital transaction or fintech, compared to the one that's in Java. The growth is still high. And we also find out that financial literacy index in 2019 was 38%, and the financial inclusion index was still 76%. We are really very optimistic we will actually get to 90%. The opportunities we can see that rapid growth of internet penetration, mobile phone and social media user, as well as large number of working age population, will enable fintech to grow. People outside Java Island have benefited from the growth of fintech and digitalization in the economy, because it requires no physical presence and product. And the use of agent networks and cooperate with popular marketplace platform to introduce fintech services in rural areas will actually help and become an opportunity for the business there. The challenges that we see from the survey is, one is the low level of financial literacy among target market. That is the main challenge. They don't know how to use it. They have to learn more, And second one is internet infrastructure in rural area, which should be improved. So the infrastructure is also important. Both infrastructure, the internet infrastructure, and also the telco infrastructure, including the handset. How many is actually having a smartphone, for example, or affordable smartphone? So that part is actually need to be, we need to work more on that part. And also now they still have to pay pulsa, to buy pulsa and use quota to actually do some transactions. While if you use cash, basically there's no cost paying with cash. So if we want to have people move from cash to non-cash or cashless, then it has to be as good as cash. So that's another thing that we need to work on. So those two challenges, remains our key challenges this year. Okay, next slides, please. Now, if we look at the numbers, how do fintech take part in accelerating the growth of financial inclusion in Indonesia? We see that the fintech index is actually grow very high. In 2017, we see World Bank Findex 1749%, and OJK in 2019, OJK survey is 76%. World Bank Findex is using OJK survey as an LIK as their index right now. So we see that the final touchpoint of fintech, for example, now there are 362 fintech players, more than 5 million agent networks. The e-money growth is also high, and P2P lending growth is also very high as well. 130 trillion being disbursed by June 2020. So we can see that in IKD or Inovasi Keuangan Digital growth now is 87 players. So we can see how big that is right now. And crowdfunding growth, you see like 607 billion loans disbursed to MSMEs. I think next year we're gonna have a higher number for this. Next. Okay, so if we look at from the Aftech annual member survey result, we can see that our members see that 2/3 of the survey respondents are targeting to unbanked and underbanked segment, which is going to grow our financial inclusion even higher. But the challenges is more than half of the survey respondents already serve unbanked and underbanked segment and rural areas in Indonesia. But those challenges that I said before, financial literacy, basic infrastructure, capital and resources, remains challenge that we face. So if we can work on this part, all these three things, probably we can actually get our target even faster. To address the challenges in financial inclusion, 45% of the survey respondents have collaborated with banks. So actually what Pak Sugeng said earlier, that how can we actually work with banks? We already do that. We are working very closely with banks. So that's one of the way we face our challenges, collaborated with banks. 23% of the respondents also have undertaken strategic partnership with the government. So the government initiatives is also already work with fintech, which actually help a lot. However, the literacy, basic infrastructure, and resources are still a problem. So I think if you are very focused on that part, we will actually achieve 90% of financial inclusion. Next, please. Now, what current government regulation initiative to support fintech to financial inclusion? We see what do we have here. So in digital payment, for example, there's already a supporting agent network of LKD. There's adoption of e-money, e-wallet, and Chrisma as well. And those are the regulations, the three regulations that support this, which is very good. And in terms of online lending, to finance unbanked and underbanked, including MSMEs through to peer-to-peer lending, there's a regulations also there. For digital finance innovation, we can see that innovative credit scoring for unbanked and underbanked is also already been supported. Customer onboarding process using eKYC. So we can see that there are regulations that already support some of these, including equity crowdfunding as well. And you can see that we are actually focusing on the MSMEs because they are the ones who are mostly underbanked or unbanked target. So what can be improved there? One is the consumer protection to support the optimization of payment system. Secondly is disbursement of non-cash social assistance through fintech. They're still going through banks right now, but banks have their limitation. So if they work with us or directly through fintech, then it will be faster. And with eKYC, which we work with Dukcapil, we can actually target the right target. So it's not we can use that as well. And the third one is financial literacy and digital literacy of the society needs to be improved to increase knowledge of the products. A lot of people are still trying to learn what is this digital financial services. The fourth one is personal data protection and cybersecurity protection law needs to be established in order to increase customer protection. As we know that there is a personal data protection bill as well that is ongoing right now. So we are actually working with the parliament as well in trying to work on this bill to become law. Next, please. So these are the draft and bills that government are working on. Roadmap for financial inclusion and new presidential regulation, which is SNK is working on that part. Master plan for financial services sector in Indonesia, 2020-2024, OJK. I think our colleagues from OJK actually work on that part. And also the G2P, a government to private 4.0 architecture, which is worked by Bappenas, and also other regulation guidelines that are relevant for each business model. So I think the government is really open their doors to understand the new innovation and what will be the future innovation to actually that will emerge or come, for the future. So they are working with us right now. So in the parliament, there are two bills that very important for this is personal data protection, also cybersecurity. And as Pak Sugeng said, Bank Indonesia already have a Indonesia Payment System Blueprint 2025, which we are also aware and exposed to. Next, please. So as President Joko Widodo said that fintech, digital financial, can become an alternative to fast and easy financial service. So I believe the support of the government, the open door from the government to actually work with us will be is actually already makes it better and faster for us to actually help them to achieve their financial inclusion target. But what we need right now, those three challenges, the infrastructure, literacy, and also resources still need to be worked on. I think those are the things that we are currently pursue and hope that we can crack that challenges and go through that challenges as well. I think later on I'll take a question and I will answer if there are some more questions about this from us. Thank you. Thank you, Riska.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chrisma, for your insights. It's very enlightening. If I may conclude from your presentation, adoption of digital financial solution has greatly increased over the past years, and it will increase more in the coming future, but there are still challenges to reach consumers beyond Java. The challenges includes low level of financial and digital literacy and lack of internet and telco infrastructure. In terms of regulation, the government and regulators had rolled out various regulations that provide a ground for fintech to grow, but there are still several things that needs to be improved, including consumer protection and social aid disbursements using fintech, financial and digital literacy, and also personal data protection that is currently still deliberated on the House of Representatives. Thank you very much once again, Ibu Chrisma, for your insights. And now, if you are worried that you missed some of Ibu Chrisma's insights, you can always play it back on the Jakarta Post YouTube channel. While Ibu Chrisma has shared stories from fintech players and the challenges that they have faced, we will now learn more about the latest research and findings on fintech's role in Indonesia's financial inclusion progress from Pak Chaikal Nuryakin. How are you, Pak Chaikal?
Fine, thank you. Just a little bit exhausted. Okay.
Chaikal is a lecturer at University of Indonesia, and he also serves as the head of research group for digital and behavioral science at LPEM-UI. Pak Chaikal, I believe you will be presenting your deck in Bahasa Indonesia, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Could I share my PowerPoint?
Yes, sure. We've already received it. Thank you. Okay, great. So for those who are more comfortable listening in Bahasa Indonesia, we have an interpreter for this discussion. Click the interpretation feature on the bottom of your Zoom window, and please choose the Japanese channel for simultaneous Bahasa Indonesia translation. For English-speaking participants, please click on the closed caption button on the bottom of your Zoom window and select Show Subtitle for the English subtitle. I believe Pak Chaikal is ready, and Pak Chaikal, I could hand over the platform to you, and you will have 15 minutes for your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Riska. First, actually, I'm honored to be the speaker in JakPost Fintech Fest. Maybe it is. I would like to inform that I oftenly send an article to JakPost, and the likelihood of accepting only maybe 20%. But that's good. Okay, the editor is fine. Okay. Maybe I start my presentation. I will look from the academic side or academic perception. Maybe I have a more free perception, a more free judgment on what's going on, yeah, because I'm, I'm an academician and likely to have maybe like a very good critique on the recent development of financial inclusion. As you may know that the fintech is rising in Indonesia, yeah, fintech platforms are increasingly being adopted. It's already been discussed by Ibu, yeah, and is compared to the lender, to the borrowers, yeah, it's huge, 25 million borrowers. But we know this is not the case in terms of value, yeah, because the lender should be the much richer person, yeah. They have a surplus of fund, and this is a deficit of fund. As you may know that there is also, but yet, yeah, the only 249 fintech companies have been registered in Indonesia, which is 43% of them are focused in loan services. So I will discuss later that, yeah, this is not about only lending, okay, in the financial services, yeah. You need also saving, you need also insurance and investments. And nevertheless, yeah, the financial inclusion is still lagging, yeah. This is already been presented, yeah, by Pak Sugeng, yeah. We know that this global financial index, I need to be more clearer, yeah, about this one, yeah. The global index is financial inclusion is based on account ownership, yeah. They estimate that the financial inclusion in Indonesia is about 20% in 2019 and in the very well improved to 49% in 2017. As of 2018, yeah, the inclusion rate is only 55% for account ownership and 70% for usage. Okay, so there are two different indicators that government use actually. One is account ownership and one is usage. And for 2019, it is 76% is for usage. Okay, so this is, you have to make this clear enough, okay, for discussion later. And somehow, yeah, financial literacy is always well below the inclusion rate. So what does it mean? Yeah, it means that the one who included, financially included, is the one who illiterate, right? That's a dangerous on that one, because yeah, if they are illiterate, they are financially illiterate, they just borrow the lendings, and they just don't know about maybe the interest rate of something. Okay, and this is the challenge of the fintech for in the meantime, yeah, that financial inclusion should not only be focusing on the usage, but also on registered account. Okay, so there are 45% adults in Indonesia don't have formal account, and even World Bank has a definition that people needs a transaction account. Okay, that is a first step toward broader financial inclusion. It could store money, send and receive payments. Okay, so we need to include people, yeah, to have an account that could store money, send and receive payment. But in Indonesia, people could do so only if they have a formal saving account, okay, or a registered e-wallet. If they are not registered, they couldn't do the send payment. They could receive payment, but they could send a payment, right? And even they have maybe a very limited store money. And in the pandemic, yeah, government need more people to have a formal financial account than ever before, because yeah, government need to transfer the money, yeah, to the needy one, to the people that are impacted by the pandemic. What government do right now is just transferring the in-kind transfer, right? They give people staple food. Of course, this is inefficient for the transportation cost. You have to also include the packaging cost. Yeah. If people have already their account and the formal account, maybe government just sending the cash to them. Okay, and the rest is saving is as important as lending. The next slide is that the challenges continues because of the geographical characteristic. I have this data from PODES 2018. PODES is Village Potential Data by Official Statistic, BPS. We have this one is physically remote. Yeah, physically remote means there are no roads that could connect to the village. We have financially remote, digitally remote. This is internet telecommunication signals. Yeah, and this is a village number. As we could see here, that statistics shown that the financially remote village is around 57.3%. That's huge. You know why? Yeah, later I will explain. Yeah, this is village without financial network or financially remote village. Yeah, without or the bank branch. Yeah, the bank branch without bank branch is around 86%. Without ATM is 85%. Without bank agent or Laku Pandai agent is around 71.8%. And even without all is 63.6%. In this kind of village characteristic, who's going to over these people financial services? Okay, because in 1998, when the financial crisis happened in Indonesia, the government policy of the monetary authority taken a very significant policy to reduce or to drop village bank, to drop village bank in the rural, because it is the rural bank, so they didn't operate again in the rural. So that's why if you go to your village or your kampung, you only have the bank branch only on the sub-district, only on the kecamatan, right? There is no bank branch on the kelurahan, on your kampung. You have to go to pusat kecamatan, you're the center of kecamatan, right? And this one is not even available in sub-district. There is 14% village, they are not available any of this one. Okay, so they should depend on the informal financial services. This is not so long ago. We have financial services landscape in Indonesia. Yeah, this is for sure already discussed. Bank, underbank. This is unbanked, but in urban. This is the rural underbank, and this is the remote underbank, remote area and underbank. The underbank in remote area. And for sure, this is the over by bank, by pawn shop, pegadaian, insurance company by insurance, and none of this one over insurance. And we have payment, discards, cash. Okay. And we have cooperative, and we have arisan. What is arisan in English? Arisan in English is rotating, informal lending and saving mechanism, something like that. Yeah. So this is very informal. This is socially being built, or being traditionally there in Indonesia. This was before fintech. Okay, we have loan shark atau lintah darat kalau di Indonesia mungkin jadi loan licis, bukan loan shark. And we have arisan here. And with fintech, what happened in the recent development, we see that it's already lending, going to fintech lending here, in urban underbank. And we have Laku Pandai or branchless banking, layanan keuangan tanpa kantor dalam program keuangan inklusif Laku Pandai. And we have also fintech here. This is in urban unbanked, But could you expect that fintech going here? Ibu udah jelaskan tadi Ibu already explained what the challenges. Not yet going to rural, and even fintech not yet going to unbanked or remote, because even if they have access, they would compete with these informal lending providers. And for the e-wallet, maybe this is a bit blurry because maybe I don't know if it exists or not here. The rural underbank using e-wallet, and we have Laku Pandai here. And this is also blurry because I don't think there's a significant Laku Pandai in underbank, rural underbank area. So the fintech need to go to this area, to the rural underbank and to the remote, for especially for the remote unbanked. Okay. So what improvement can be made to the running program to accelerate in Indonesia's financial inclusion? Actually, for global practices, there are two main differences, although this is not mutually exclusive. They are both something that's something like a blended between bank and telco. So we have bank-led financial inclusion and we have telco-led financial inclusion. What is bank-led financial inclusion? We appoint banks. We ask bank to be the main driver of the financial inclusion. So the bank could do appoint informal and formal business entities as bank agent. This is actually branchless banking and fully adopted by Indonesia, and partially adopted in the Pakistan and India. But what makes them different is about that Laku Pandai until now is maybe only serving people that are society that are near to the banks. Okay, the banks could not appoint agents too far from the banks, right? Because they need to supervise, they need to coordinate these Laku Pandai agents. So they just appoint Laku Pandai agents. They are very near to the bank branch. And what's the difference between this in India? We will find out later that in India, they provide non-bank financial institution, what's so-called a payment bank. Okay, a payment bank is that they are permitted to provide or offer services of depositing money from society. Okay. And what about telco company-led financial inclusion? This is MNU, mobile network operators could appoint informal and formal business to provide financial services to the unbanked. But actually the PBI, the regulation of Bank Indonesia prohibited non-bank to appoint informal, okay? You could just appoint the formal business one. But this is not the case in Kenya, later we find. And this is fully adopted in Kenya by using MNOs and banks, because in Kenya, telco are cooperate with the banks. Okay. And this is a global practice in India. We have payment bank and Aadhaar. Grants the fintech company to operate as a payment bank. They could over saving, but they couldn't over loan. Okay, but they have ATM, and debit cards to issue. Okay. And they have also other ensure the prudence of the payment receiving, because the existence of other. This other is eKYC, digitally identity card. They have a fingerprinted system of this one. And other also promote the KYC, and I think Nigeria start to adopt this India system. Okay. And this is the same, the KYC is reduce associated costs and risk of the financial services. For Indonesia, Indonesia National Identity Card and the KYC is still far from ready. Okay, that's why the challenge for fintech is how they could access Dukcapil, data kependudukan Indonesia. But in Indonesia, you just use Aadhaar. They will provide you the main information about the customers.
I'm sorry, Pak Chaikal, for interrupting. You'll have 5 more minutes for your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. And what about Kenya? Kenya M-Pesa established in 2007. What is very peculiar with M-Pesa is that they could appoint informal agent for sure, and they have M-Swari. This is a joint product of Commercial Bank of Africa and Safaricom. So these telco and banks merge to provide M-Swari. So how to fostering the financial inclusion in Indonesia? For sure, from the supply side, yeah, you should develop universal fintech with broadest network. What to do? What to do with that? Yeah, we have to go into banking goes fintech or fintech goes banking. But I doubt about this banking goes fintech, because as bank or if bank already want to know, would like to capture the remote area market or capture the unbanked in the village, they already did so, yeah, if they want to, but they don't want to, right? So if you could do it, if you don't want to do it, just give others to do it, okay? So just give the fintech goes banking, okay? You could use telco, you could use e-commerce, or you could BOOMDESK, okay? So use BOOMDESK because BOOMDESK exists in every village. Use BOOMDESK as universal banking maybe, or just use fintech to have like payment banks in India. Or second, yeah, introduce informal financial service provider to fintech. Yeah, if you can beat the loan shark in remote area in village, just make them to join you. Okay, because the loan shark in village or in remote area provide universal lending. So fintech lending could not compete with them, yeah, because if the kids are sick, the kids want to have like going to school, the loan shark provide the universal lending for them, but not the fintech lending. And we need a creative credit scoring system, yeah, and improving. This is just a standard updating, standard supply side intervention. And for demand side, please improve financial literacy, yeah, so no one could kill themselves because they don't know. Yeah? And financial access and resiliency of the poor, yeah, how to improve saving at PKH account. So the PKH account is for the poor one, and government already have the account of this poor household. And yet the saving is very minimal, even they don't realize or they don't aware that the PKH account could be used as saving account. That is really weird, right? And of course, you have to increase confidence or trust and convenience to the remote or to the villagers to use your service. And finally, this one, yeah, we have to realizing the universal financial services, not just like now, yeah. I think today on in the recent trend, yeah, I just think that the fintech is so fragmented, yeah. You just go to lending to there, you just going payment to there, you just going to saving to there. Please provide universal financial services, and with integration, yeah, even more possibility for the financial service could be over with ease on the branch banking application. Okay, so that's all for me. Maybe we have later the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Chaikal, for your wonderful insights. I think it's safe to say that fintech has played a great role in Indonesia's journey to more inclusive financial services. However, there are still several obstacles that they still face to ensure a wider adoption. As Pak Sugeng previously said, collaboration between fintech, banks, and village-owned enterprises, as well as informal financial services to widen fintech reach, is important to ensure a wider access to every single Indonesians. And also, stakeholders must also improve financial literacy and financial access and resiliency of the poor. Pak Chaikal also mentioned about universal financial services that is really important to ensure that every single one of Indonesians is not left behind in terms of financial access. Thank you very much, Pak Chaikal, for your presentation. It was very insightful and enlightening. Okay, now since we've learned a lot from Pak Chaikal's findings, now it's time to find out more on the innovations the fintech industry has offered to reach to broader consumers and promote financial inclusion. I think there's no one more equipped to share his view with us than Mohan Jayaraman. Hi, Pak Mohan. How are you? Is Pak Mohan with us? Still with us? Okay, Pak Mohan Jayaraman is the Experian Asia Pacific Managing Director for Southeast Asia and Regional Innovation. Hello, Pak Mohan.
Riska, Rajiv here. He should be dialing back in, I think.
Okay. Okay, so there's a little bit of a technical glitch there, but that's okay. So Experian is an Irish-based company that has been really involved in promoting financial inclusion all over the world. But while we're waiting for Pa Mohan, we believe we should go to the Q&A session for a little bit. Jessica, do you have the Q&A, the questions from the audience?
Hi. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to the Q&A session.
I'm actually answering some of these the questions online as well in the Q&A.
Okay, so we have received a lot of questions coming from the attendees. Let me read some. For the first one for Ibu Chrisma, how willing are private banks to be interconnected? I presume this will take years to achieve.
Well, our members already connected to a lot of banks. What do you call, like starting from Bank Buku 4, juga the big banks, and also other banks, private and also Himbara as well. And we don't have any major challenges in doing so, because I believe that banks already understand or really appreciate that we are actually helping them as well to go to reach beyond their capability. Actually, we are partners.
Okay, so thank you.
Including loan disbursement. Some fintech is actually channeling from bank loans as well.
Okay, thank you, Bu Chrisma. And the next question for Pak Chaikal from Pratama Suprayogi. Based on global fintech data released in 2017 for Indonesia, the percentage of unbanked women was lower than the percentage of unbanked men. This is an anomaly, especially when we compare it with other countries. Meanwhile, based on OJK SNLIK data in 2019, it was quite the opposite, as it showed that the percentage of unbanked women was higher than men. Do you think there had been any changes to financial inclusion strategy during this period? And what are the main factors affecting the success of increasing financial inclusion for Indonesian women?
Okay, we know that women are in the literature already proven to be the very good lenders. Many evidence about that. But in Indonesia, financial inclusion is going to the account ownership. Okay, so the account ownership mostly may be done or have by the head of by the breadwinner of the family, right? Or by, in this case, is the male one, the husband, to have the financial account. This may be the case. Yeah. Second is how to improve. I don't know, maybe we could just use or channeling this formal financial inclusion into arisan. Yeah. So arisan is mostly by women. So maybe this laku pandai branchless banking just go to the arisan and formalize this arisan or accommodating included the system into the laku pandai atau branchless banking. But as I may know, there is a very low trust, yeah, maybe, yeah. This is anecdotal evidence actually, yeah, whether there is a significant factor of trust that makes branchless banking saving rate, yeah, very low. Yeah, they don't use it as saving rate. They just use as saving mechanism. They just use for payments. This laku pandai. So I think familiarity, confidence, and convenience of the transaction in laku pandai should be improved. And I know that there are many women who, you know, who are responsible for payments in household, right? The one who siapa yang bayar gitu, bayar bill dan bayar lain-lain itu kan perempuan gitu. So they actually the holders of the money of the household. So why don't they save in the laku pandai or branchless banking? So yeah, I think it should be improved, convenient, confidence and information to the women. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Pak Chaikal. I guess Pak Mohan is back, so I will hand over the screen to Riska. Riska, the platform is yours.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Hi, Pak Mohan. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly. So before we get into your presentation, can you explain a little bit about Experian and how has it play a role in financial inclusion all over the world?
Sure. I might bring up a slide that might hopefully explain this a little better. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Perfect. So at the start of the beginning, I mean, Experian is globally a data analytics decisioning organization. We are fundamentally focused on trying to bring credit data to consumers and to the banking system to help them evaluate the credit a little better. By way of introduction, we are the largest player in this space globally, with about 1 billion people that we hold credit information in respect of, and about 145 million businesses that we hold information in respect of. The things that we are focused on from a sort of data standpoint, I've sort of called out on the right hand of the screen. We have been focusing over the last couple of years on what we call our data labs. The data labs fundamentally for us are constructs to look at innovation in the theme of financial inclusion, and then try and see what's the best way we can bring some of those capabilities around data and analytics to support financial inclusion. It's worth maybe taking a minute to explain the way we look at financial inclusion globally. The way we've sort of defined this, we look at financial inclusion in multiple geographies as a sort of 3-step process. The first is what we call payment inclusion, where consumers get access to digital payments, digital accounts that they access. At this level, they're able to move money electronically. They're able to start transacting without having to use paper money. And that's a first important step. The second step is when we think that there is livelihood protection. So let's call this insurance in some form, micro insurance and insurance in some form that helps livelihood protection and essentially prevents them from sort of slipping into the next level of financial capability as a consequence of maybe disasters that might happen. And the third level is what we term as financial inclusion from a credit standpoint, so credit inclusion. And at that point in time, it's basically when the banking system or the formal system within a country is able to offer credit to an individual. And we believe that that's the point at which that there is a financial inclusion at the highest level. That's the point at which, for example, an individual consumer is able to transcend beyond their financial capability and perhaps use credit to be able to grow where they can get to over a period of time. So our focus has been largely more on credit inclusion, and that's what we are focused on in the Indonesian context. For instance, we've looked at this in the theme of the OJK survey that the way it corresponds to Indonesia and the target that had been set of getting to that 75% inclusion level, which has now been exceeded and has reached about 76% at this point in time. The theme that I wanted to maybe establish in experience context is that given the fact that we are focused on credit inclusion, we've looked at the best way we can use information and data in some form from the banking system, but extending onward into the non-banking system for evaluating consumer credit. And that's broadly what will be the theme of
It seems that Pa Mohan is having a little bit of a technical glitch over on his end. Experian is a very interesting company because it allows everyone to improve their credit, right? But while we wait for Pa Mohan, I'll hand over the platform to Jessica for a more Q&A session. Jessica, the platform is yours.
Hi, thank you, Riska. So we're gonna, okay, I will read some questions from the attendees. One more for Ibu Chrisma Albandjar from Ike Purnamasari. Okay, I think Bu Chrisma has already answered the question, so, sorry. And another one from Felix Suhartono.
If you want to, you can actually read the questions and the answer as well.
Okay.
So everybody can actually hear about it, or if they don't look at it.
Okay, I will read the question and the answer also. To Ibu Chrisma Albandjar, how about the regulatory sandbox? It has effective or good to implement to fintech company? Why fraud and cases about illegal fintech still rising? From your perspective as Aftech, what is your perspective as Aftech? Thank you, Ibu. Bu Chrisma has answered. If you want to check it, I will briefly read it, the answer. Regulatory sandbox is a good initiative, especially as we know, usually regulatory is always behind innovation. With regulatory sandbox, innovation and regulation can try to work hand in hand. Of course, there should be an administration process that industry should follow because it is about people's money. Unfortunately, there are still some players who are not passionate enough to go through the process. Therefore, we advise people to go to players who have received approval from authority. They can ask us too on the status of fintech players. Thank you, Bu Chrisma. And one more question from Felix Suhartono. Since a few months ago, Mr. President Joko Widodo said that Indonesia needs fintechs to support banking to make the growth of economic become positive. But it is not in line with OJK rules because until now, OJK is still moratorium or stop the new fintech to register. So how can fintech will grow and help the government? Please stop the OJK moratorium and let us the new fintech that is really serious comply and follow the rules to be registered by OJK. Then we can stand and work together hand in hand with the banking in Indonesia to make the economic in Indonesia grow and better. Thank you from Felix. Maybe Bu Chrisma and Pak Chaikal want to respond to the question?
I don't think so. I think there's more on comments, right, and suggestions. I agree.
Hello.
Well, yeah, I think about the moratorium, I think OJK have to answer that part. But I can only comment that, well, you know, the authority both, because fintech is actually being ruled for payments, payment system, it's actually being, the authorization is actually in Bank of Indonesia, while others are actually in OJK. So, because it has something to do with people's money, you know, so I think they're very careful about this. And it's not about not respecting innovations, because they do have regulatory sandbox, for example. But I think they also need to be very careful in terms of to make sure that our money is actually safe. Because it's not only about the players, but it's also about us who are actually putting money there as well. Because if there are problems, then you know where to go is actually going to OJK or going to BI. So I believe both regulatory authorities are very careful about this. But if you want to ask about OJK moratorium, then they have to go to OJK.
Okay, thank you. And I will read one more question for all panelists. Is the system of monitoring and oversight by Bank Indonesia and OJK good enough to support fintech development in the rural areas and into all segments of the society, considering the understanding of fintech is not equal in all layers of the society, especially for peer-to-peer lending? From Rudy Arif Satrio. Maybe Bu Chrisma wants to answer?
I'm trying to find the question. Sorry. Oh, okay. So you mean like, okay, is this the one that OJK and Bank Indonesia, right?
Yeah, correct.
In the rural area?
Yep.
Okay, so the most important thing for especially those beyond Java is actually more into their understanding. I agree, I totally agree about that. The thing is that they don't know how to use it, or they don't know why I should use that. That's why literacy is very, very important. I think this pandemic has taught a lot of people about how to use digital product and how to trust them. That is why the data protection is very important, because if there's no data protection, then people will not trust digital product. Then then we will not go into digitalization of financial technology, for example. So I think the most important thing is literacy. I totally agree with that. And how do we do that? Is we have to make sure that this product is being introduced to those people and make them trust us. If there are a lot of illegal players and a lot of people losing their money because of that, then they will not use digital products. So I think this is not like chicken and egg, but this is really how to gain trust into digital product. So if they don't trust us, they will not use it. If they don't use it, the literacy will not actually, no matter how, if you have campaign, you have people go there canvassing, they will not buy it. So it's very important for us to make sure that all the products that people use can be trusted. That's, I think, what we are working with the OJK and also Bank of Indonesia to make sure that this is really prudent. Then these people in the, especially beyond Java, yeah, if they don't understand it, they won't use it.
Okay, thank you, Bu Chrisma. And I guess Pak Mohan is back again. I will hand over the platform to Riska. Riska, the platform is yours.
Hi, it seems that Pa Mohan is still trying to log back in. Is there any more questions to the panelists today, Jessica?
Yes, we still have more questions. For Bu Chrisma again. Aftech member survey 2020 reveals that most of fintech companies serve people in Java. Any comments as to why and if this will change over years? To Pak Chaikal, what are the risks, if any, to financial system when fintech companies are taking more important roles in the economy?
Pardon me, Ibu Jessica.
Okay. To Bu Chrisma, I will reread the question. Aftech's member survey 2020 reveals that most of fintech companies serve people in Java. Any comment as to why and if this will change over years? For Pak Chaikal, what are the risks, if any, to financial system when fintech companies are taking more important roles in the economy? Maybe Pak Chaikal want to answer first?
Okay, for sure, yeah, because the government or the banks of Bank of Indonesia, Financial Authority Indonesia. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So for the this is the regulation of Bank Indonesia to forbid non-bank institution to hold people's money, right? The holding money institution. So in this case, there are many or most developing countries also do that. Yeah, the regulation is there forbid, and we already know there is evidence of money. I don't know what is the money laundering or money uh, has been diminished in the cooperatives because of this deposit permission to them gitu. So actually I agree with Bank Indonesia to forbid the non-bank financial institution to keep people money But in that case, actually, government or Bank Indonesia should also provide or OJK to also permit, fintech to have like a payment bank. Okay, the payment bank actually is this one is a very limited scope. Yeah, even they have the threshold of saving amount. Yeah, maybe like 20 million or 40 million. Yeah. So I think if this is done by fintech that are very regulated, they are already have permission to OJK and already been very controlled, and at national level, I think it's very good to give them permission of payment banks. So they could go to the remote area and to the village area that the banks, I think banks do not want to go there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Haikal.
Yeah.
And
yes, the survey that we have is 2019-2020. I think it's going to change over years, and I think it's going to change faster now because of this pandemic. People are looking at digital as their way out of doing business, and now not only doing business but also doing social work, giving donations. Everything is online. So now, beyond Java, I think they will now looking at it as a solution, and they will actually use it creatively as well. That is why the regulators are very keen in terms of learning more and anticipate any innovation that may happen in the future. That's why now OJK and BI is working very closely with us, with the association, actually learning from us or understanding from us what actually going to happen, in the near future, because they need to be prepared about that. They don't want to have regulator, fall behind any innovation anymore. So that's why it's totally different right now. They're really like working really closely right now.
thank you, Bu Chrisma. So I have another question for Bu Chrisma. I think the audience really likes you. They send you a lot of questions. So one more question. What from Adino Tirtakusuma? What are the common challenges of various fintech players, both new and relatively old, in terms of understanding the legal and regulatory framework, and how is it enforced in practice?
Okay. It's always a challenge how to understand regulations, right? So especially for startups, because what they know how to make a product, they know the business, they know how to make money, but how to actually align with the regulation, that's actually a challenge. That's why now OJK, I'm talking specifically about OJK and BI. Now if you look at Pa Sugeng's presentation just now, right? It's very user friendly. They're using not the bold word, right? But they are using very funny cartoonistic model. because they want us to understand where they are going and how to do it, because now they understand if they make it difficult, it's going to be more difficult for them. So if the players doesn't understand what to do, what is the process, they will actually go with it anyway, and it's becoming illegal, or it's being used, and there will be more problems. So to actually for them to make it a less problem for them, it's easier for them if they can actually talk with us, talk with the players. So in short, I think there are a lot of things, there are a lot of attempt by OJK and Bank of Indonesia to actually socializing or telling, educate players and educate the people on their regulations, on how to do it. So I don't think it is that hard anymore. But if it's still hard, or it's still a challenge, then that's why people are talking to us. That's why association like us becoming the bridge, especially in terms of regulations and the regulatory framework. And yes, if it is the question is how is it enforced in practice? They actually, first of all, they definitely going to tell us how to do it. Secondly, when we're doing it and we don't doing it right, they will tell us how to do it right. And then when we are there, they're going to watch us. There are there's what do you call that, pengawasan, supervisory function as well, where they are going to be very strict. They will not let you cross the line, because once you do that, we will lose the trust of the people of using, again, digital product. When we lose the trust, then whatever that we already do for financial inclusion is just going to collapse. That is why I think there should be understanding between the two parties on why it is very important for us to actually doing it by the rules when you are there. Before you are there, you actually have to learn what is the regulation. And from association, we can actually totally we can help you guys.
Thank you, Bu Chrisma. So Pak Mohan is back. Riska, the platform is yours.
Okay. Hi, Pak Mohan. Are you still there?
I am. Can you see me now?
Yes. Would you like for us to present your slide? We can.
Yeah, I think that will be better.
Okay.
My apologies, by the way. I seem to be having some weird problems with the internet today. If you can share this deck from your side, I think that will be a great way to go ahead.
All right. All right. No worries. We'll share the screen now. Okay. Please continue your presentation. I'll hand over the platform to you.
Thank you. So I don't know at what point in time you all lost me, but I was just making the point on credit inclusion and talking about credit inclusion as a key part of what we wanted to talk, what we wanted to focus on. Clearly, I think that has been our theme to look at, for example, the credit invisible consumers, and look at how we can take them into the financial mainstream through use of innovation. And in our case, a lot of this work has been focused on using the power of alternate data and looking at, for example, the best way we can use this data to let the formal banking system evaluate these consumers. For example, if we look at this in the Indonesian context, there are a lot of consumers who don't have a banking relationship, a formal banking relationship, which will mean that their credit data is not in the credit system or with the credit bureaus. What we think is useful in the case of these consumers is to look at using the alternate data that's available in other through other sources. For example, while credit penetration might not be high, there will be a very high level of penetration of telco usage within the country. We could use some of that data and find out means by which we can actually evaluate these consumers and use the scores that are coming from this transactional data to evaluate and grant credit to these consumers. For instance, for a typical telco consumer, within about 3 weeks of their using a regular SIM card, typically we have enough information transactionally that comes in play that lets us build a scorecard of an equivalent kind of power of credit differentiation, a high enough Gini for us to be able to let the banking system use this coherently. The other thing that we have done is to look at this problem, even in the context of, let's say, improving scores. A lot of the speakers earlier talked about financial literacy. So let's look at this for two audiences. A big part of many developing geographies, including in Indonesia, is not just the set of people who are not financially included. If you can just stay on the earliest slide for a second. Is not just financial inclusion, but also the theme of what we would call thin file consumers. A thin file consumer is someone whose information is there in the bureau, but there isn't enough information for it to be relevant and to be usable in the right way by the banking system. So what we do in this context is to try and see if we can actually use consumer consented data to improve the credit scores using, for example, their permission and consent to get access to, say, things like phone bills, utility bills, and look at adding that as value into their credit scores. In the North American context, for instance, we have actually added about 35 million plus points to consumers that it's impacting about 2.5 million consumers. So this is consumers in respect of which we've been able to use this alternate data to improve their credit scores, which we think is very empowering to the consumers and also help them understand this whole theme of financial inclusion and credit literacy in a much more significant way. If you move to the next slide, that talks about the way we've looked at this in the context of North America, for instance, as an evolved geography, where we have a lot of consumers that already have access to credit. But even in this case, about 90% of the lenders believe that alternate data can allow them to extend credit to more consumers or to take that decision with a lot more of confidence. 80% of consumers feel that including some of their information will have a positive impact on their scores and are willing to give this information. And we believe that this is a great model to bring from a developed geography into a developing geography like Indonesia and other parts of the region, where we can use consumers' information to build power and value into their own credit scores. If you move to the next slide, that talks about the theme of using consented data. And the way this works is very simple. Typically, for example, in the US context or in developed geographies, we approach the consumer with an app that will take a consumer consent specifically for kinds of information that they want to provide us. It could be for, let's say, for example, a utility bill that they want to provide or some specific set of information that they want to give us. They can choose to opt in or opt out of information that they don't want to give us. And what we'll do is use this information to build what we call a boost score, which basically increases the consumer's credit-based credit score. So say, for example, for a thin file consumer who have a score, this adds on additional information and increases the value of that score to let credit institutions take decisions with a lot more of confidence. And we believe that this is central to the theme of, for example, thin file consumers. Now, if you move to the next slide, that talks about the way we look at this construct productively beyond just consumer consented data. Alternate data in some form is also something that lenders can use for additional perspectives in targeting new market segments or in developing strategies or portfolio analysis and model development and deployment. And all of this can be done in a sort of platform means. So the way I'd sort of articulate this is, the way we see this in the sort of larger scheme of things is credit inclusion is the theme that we believe is most important for developing geographies And for example, in the Indonesian context, we believe that's the one that we want to focus on. The way we are doing this is in two ways. One is by use of alternate data, like for example, the telco scores and so on, to help the credit unincluded consumers and help bring them on to the sort of formal credit platform. The thing that we can do once we have a base set of consumers who are already in play, but who might be thin file, is do the second thing, which is work on consumer consented data. And both of these systems can actually coexist and support financial inclusion in a much more significant way, with both alternate data as well as consumer consented data coming together and helping build a strong financial inclusion foundation in a developing geography. In the Indonesian context, for instance, we've already got this live with alternate data and with content that we put together with alternate data providers like telcos, for instance, and have had institutions that are lending on this basis and have built a significant portfolio, about $30 million worth of portfolio that they have lent till now, which is performing reasonably well. What we then do is to try and see if we can support these lenders through, like I said, a broader analytical platform. What we've called Ascend in this case is a global platform that lets a lender put their data together with our data and the consumer's data and get a sort of consolidated 360-degree view, which they can use to target new markets, benchmark insights, as well as for model deployment and development, which we think then makes the system fairly holistic and gets all of this to come together in a very significant way. So in conclusion, I just wanted to leave a couple of thoughts, from a sort of practitioner standpoint. The theme, for instance, that we believe fundamentally with the path that Indonesia has already very progressively set, the alternate data story is exceptionally important and unfolding in a very, very significant manner for Indonesia. And we believe that can grow into something that can support financial inclusion in a very coherent and coordinated manner. The second thing, we believe that consumer consented data with that virtuous cycle of consumer education is again likely to significantly help the cause in getting more consumers into the financial system formally and to help them access credit, and over a period of time, also build a credit portfolio that can then stand on its own without having to use some of these additional information pieces that are already in existence. So I think it's a coming together of alternate data, consumer consented data, together with clear lending platform capabilities that we need to bring into the financial system, that we believe will let lenders take their decision with confidence and help financial inclusion in a much more significant way. So I think that's broadly the thought that I wanted to leave with you, and I'll pass back Riska to you.
Thank you very much, Pak Mohan, for your insights. So if I may conclude from Pak Mohan's presentation, the use of alternative data stemming from telco usage or bill payments can help to bring more people to access credit and build credit portfolio, as well as to help achieve a more inclusive financial services especially here in Indonesia, where many of the people are still underbanked or still underserved by the banking ecosystem. So thank you very much once again, Pak Mohan, for your presentation. It was very, very insightful. Now that we have listened to all of the wonderful insights from all of our wonderful speakers, we still have around 5 minutes, I believe, to discuss the topics further. And I will hand over the platform to my partner, Jessica. I believe she still have more questions from the Q&A box we have. Jessica?
Okay, thank you, Riska. So I will read some more questions. This one is for Pak Mohan. Pak Mohan, do you see any significant differences in how the fintech players have been supporting or accelerating financial inclusion in Indonesia when compared to those in other countries?
I think Indonesia is on a very positive curve on the usage of alternate data. and fintech players, just given the fact that there is progressive regulation, have managed to use the information much better in this process. Many of the countries are still in the process of trying to get their regulation in shape to be able to use alternate data better. But we find that the Indonesian market is already reasonably progressed in using it and being able to actually use this information for credit decisioning. So the fintech players in some sense are helping in two ways. One, in generating more data, the alternate data that is getting generated by them in consumer interfaces, consumer apps that they have is helping build that ecosystem of data, which we think grows the alternate data space. The second thing that they are doing is some of them are getting into the lending space to create some of these initial portfolios, which will benchmark and give the capability for larger institutional players like banks to come in and lend into that space with a little more of confidence. So I think both of these are things that we are seeing play out quite well in Indonesia. And I'd actually say that in the region, we think Indonesia is a little ahead of the curve on the way, both the regulation is supporting this area, as well as fintech players are heading into this space in a much more comprehensive manner.
Thank you, Pak Mohan. So our time is running out. I will read another question, the last question for Pak Mohan. In yesterday's talk, there was an initiative in Indonesia by the Association of P2P Fintech Lending to get together a data center specialized for Indonesia. What is the role of Experian as an international organization in this development?
I think the role is exactly as I described, to see what we can do to use the information information resource that is getting built in a much bigger way. On the P2P space, there are a couple of things that we have done globally. The first is to look at, for example, the information that we can bring in. The second is to look at the information that people are willing to provide. For example, I talked about consented data. The P2P space typically has either thin file consumers or non-financially included consumers. So if you can actually use consented data to build, let's say, credit scores for consumers, that lets the P2P players take their call with a lot more of confidence and be able to build their portfolio on the basis of real quantitative information. So that's a part of the play that we believe Experian can productively play. And it will take positive steps in sort of playing too.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Mohan. So before we end today's discussion, maybe the panelists want to say a few words regarding today's topic. Maybe Pak Mohan want to start?
Yeah, I think I'll maybe recap what I was saying. I thought we had a very enlightening conversation, starting from a regulatory view, moving up to a finance association, to a academician, to hopefully what I was able to present as a practitioner. And I think from an Indonesian market standpoint, there is an initial advantage that the market has in having used the information and built the regulation to sort of support alternate data in a very significant way. I think this can become a big competitive advantage for a market that's trying to grow financial inclusion. And I believe that the path that Indonesia is setting can be a bit of an example for the rest of the region, the way you're looking at harnessing alternate data and trying to productively use it for credit decisioning.
Thank you, Pak Mohan. Ibu Chrisma, maybe do you want to add some points?
Just a couple of points. One is that I think Indonesia in a very good position currently to get into its target, to get to 90% of financial inclusion, especially in this kind of situation right now, because we have all the we have all the muscles. What we need to do is just to make sure that everybody is on board. In this case, for example, like helping the small and medium enterprises to get on board into digitalization. That's part of the the education, so that they part of the literacy, because at the end of the day, they will actually using the financial technology product anyway if they are getting into digitalization. And secondly, on the infrastructure side, I think the government should actually move faster and make sure that the infrastructure is being optimized and being really used by the people, especially beyond Java, because they are the one who will actually beneficial in using benefiting in using this kind of services. From us, from the association part, we will work closely with the government and also with the players, industrial players, and also people who are using it, to our stakeholders, to make sure that everybody is aligned, and we are really open for questions or collaboration in moving this forward. Thank you. And thank you, Jakarta Post. I think this is a wonderful webinar.
Thank you, Bu Chrisma. Thank you so much. So, Pa Chaikal, do you want to add some points? Do you want to share something based on today's discussion?
Yes, for sure. You know, there are limited institutions, or maybe very rarely exist in the remote area, right? Even in the village. So it is very difficult to find branchless banking, the agent that will become the branchless banking, or the agent will become the providers of the financial services. Maybe only the BUMDES, right? The village-owned enterprise that is there, exists in the village and remote area. So it is whether this BUMDES is being accommodated or being incorporated in the financial inclusion program, or you have to let others than banks to do it. Yeah, for example, this telecommunication company, they have the airtime agents in everywhere, in remote area, in the mountain, in the island, small island, there is airtime agents, right? So yeah, there are only two options. I think, yeah, you let the non-bank institution to provide these universal financial services, or you accommodate this BUMDES. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pa Chaikal. So that is a wrap for today's Q&A session as well as today's program. I believe it's very insightful discussion to hear from all the panelists, their insights and also information related to fintech and financial inclusion across Indonesia. Thank you very much for all panelists. Thank you, Pa Chaikal. Thank you, Bu Chrisma. Thank you, Bu Chrisma, for answering all the questions on the Q&A box. Thank you, Pa Mohan. And thank you for all the participants joining us today. On behalf of the Jakarta Post, I would like to apologize that several questions could not be delivered to our panelists. However, we thank you for your enthusiasm. Before we officially close this program, I'm going to invite all the panelists for a group photo. Okay, is everyone ready? Let's smile for the camera and I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome. Okay, as one last note, again, good journalism needs your support. Please consider subscribing to the Jakarta Post by going to our website, www.jakartapost.com/packages. With only 50,000 rupiah, you will get an access to our premium content and more. So, and also don't forget to follow our social media accounts, the Jakarta Post on Facebook, at JakPost Images on Instagram, and at JakPost on Twitter for more information about Indonesia and also as well about other webinar. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again at tomorrow's webinar, the last day of our Fintech Fest, that will highlight fintech's capabilities and innovation. I'm Jessicha Valentina signing off. Thank you.
Thank you all. Be safety and healthy.
You too.